Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar once again. Thank you for being here. This month, it is called Connect the Dots, Make Your Time Doctor Reports Work Together. That's the purpose why we're here. And it's good to have you all here. I'm going to start sharing just a slide deck that we'll be working through today, just so that you can understand a little bit more of what we're doing and how we're moving along. So, like I said, it is called Connect the Dots, Make Time Doctor Reports Work Together. My name is Calvin, and I am the Client Success Lead for the East, and I'm based out in South Africa. And I've been with Time Doctor for about just under 4 years, and I'm really, really excited to be here today. And I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Laura, who will share something about herself.
Hi, everybody. I hope everyone's doing great. So I'm Laura. I'm the CS lead for the Americas here, Time Doctor. I've been working together with Calvin for the past 4 years, and yeah, it's been an amazing ride. I'm based in Argentina, near Messi's home. So yeah, hi to everybody.
Fantastic. Thanks, Laura. So as always, we have some housekeeping reminders. We don't like using the word rules because everybody's grown up here, but just some reminders. You would have noticed that your mics are muted, and this is on purpose. It's by default, but please feel free to ask all of your questions or any questions in real time, right? When you hear something you don't understand, ask a question. There's a Q&A button just below in the bottom panel, so please use that. We might not be able to stop immediately and answer your question, but we definitely will leave some time at the end to answer some of your questions. And if you miss anything, maybe you see something and you think, I missed want more detail, we will be sharing the recording with everybody that signed up. So you'll be able to watch this in your own time, or maybe even share it with someone in your team that couldn't make it. So that's just all we have for the housekeeping reminders. You see, nice and simple, nice and easy, just 3 things that you need to remember. Laura.
Yeah, all right, guys. Quick words from our Running Remote community. So, Running Remote, for those who don't know, is the world's largest network for leaders of distributed teams. It's proudly powered by Time Doctor. So, in April next year, we're going to be bringing it to Texas, and it's going to be an incredible event. And if you're planning to join us, now's the time. You can save a big with our 2-for-1 ticket offer. That is only $250 for 2 tickets, but only until December 31st. So don't miss it.
Yeah, don't miss it. It promises to be really, really exciting. Thanks for sharing that, Laura. And just to kick off our agenda, obviously, you know why you're here. You're here to understand more about the Time Doctor reports and how you can put them together. And so that's what we'll be doing. We'll have a quick recap of all the reports that are available to you. We'll also then, myself and Laura will take turns to practically go through some cross-report scenarios. And then obviously we'll, like I said earlier, we'll get some time to answer your questions. But the reason why we are here today is because we understand that many teams regularly review their Time Doctor reports. Like as managers, as admins, or even as owners, you're regularly reviewing your Time Doctor reports. But often you're reviewing a report in isolation, so a singular report. Now, the goal of today's session is to demonstrate how you can combine multiple reports to uncover deeper insights and support better decision making. Because that's essentially why we're here. We're here to make you managers, admins, give you the insights to make better decisions. And so hopefully in the session, you will get some practical examples of cross-report analysis, real use cases from our clients, as well as actionable takeaways. So the question is, why does connecting reports really matter? Why do we feel it's important, right? A single report, like I mentioned, will give you the data, will give you everything that you need to know. But when you combine it with another report or report or 2 or 3 reports after that, it gives you the context. Sometimes it's what context gives us the ability to make the right decisions. So when used together, Time Doctor reports can reveal patterns and connections you might otherwise miss. So helping leaders understand why performance looks the way it does. So before we dive into demonstrating all of these, we're just going to have a quick recap, and Laura's going to share some of that.
Right, thanks, Carl. So yeah, so we're going to be talking about Time Doctor 2, and currently there are 12 reports in total in the platform. These are hours tracked, activity summary, the timeline report, web and app report, the attendance, project and tasks, and custom exports. Now, there are 5 additional reports that are only available as add-ons or on the premium plan, and these are the internet connectivity, offers versus remote, benchmarks AI, meeting insights, and the unusual activity report. Back over to you, Carl.
Awesome, Laura. Thank you very much. Thanks for that quick recap. So those are reports that are available. And I saw a message in the chat saying, is this for the Time Doctor Classic version or the Time Doctor 2? We are speaking about the Time Doctor 2 version today. So I'm going to stop sharing this slide deck so that we can dive into some of the cross reports analysis. And I'll be sharing sort of directly from our dashboard, our demo dashboard, if you want to call it, just to give you an insight, a little bit more insight into what we're looking at. So, but first of all, I want to paint the picture, right? When you're looking at reports, you know, sometimes it's quite simple just to look at one simple report, like I mentioned earlier, and you seem to think, oh, I know this report, I understand it. But you'll see today, once you start combining it with other reports, right, you'll start to see the game change. You'll start to see the differences that it will make, right? So let's start here. So this is just a simple report. This is your hours track report, which obviously you'll find under there. And I've already pre-selected a couple of groups here and a particular week in October, because that's where we'll get more data. And this is just your hours track report. So it gives you the time tracked for each team member over a week. So you'll see there 15 users in this cohort, 515 hours. Now, the nice thing I like about this report, it can tell you, you know, if you're worried about overworking or anything of that sort, it can give you, you know, if someone's working more hours than they should. You can also dive into a particular user and you can see on which days, you know, they overworked or they did too much or they didn't work at all. So it's a great report, very simple to understand. It just gives you the hours tracked. Now, when you combine it with another report, like let's say the timeline report, okay, the timeline report starts to bring things a little bit more together. Still, we're looking at that same week, but now you can kind of see, if you're looking at it live, because this is the one report that you can look at actually live and see what's going on, you'll be able to see who's online at the moment, right? So wherever you see the green dot, that shows you who's online at the moment. And it's important because maybe you want to understand, okay, who can I bring together to collaborate? Right? Who can I bring together at a specific time to collaborate? Where about exactly are they in their day? What are they doing? And those kind of things. So it's a great one to look at. And if you look at, you know, even if you look at it from a specific day and you go into a specific users tab, you can see exactly what projects and tasks they were busy at for what period of the day. So you can also then combine it with your project and task report, because then you're able to kind of see a little bit more context and give you a better idea of how your team is working and where they're working. So that's just a simple example to kick us off. But the one that the first scenario that I want to focus on in a little bit more detail is remote versus office productivity. Now, in this section, I'm going to explore how to cross-reference, you know, 2 or 3 different reports to gain powerful insights about remote versus office productivity. By the end, you'll know exactly how to combine the 3 reports that I'll show you to understand where your team works best, but not just where, also why. But I'm going to start with the common question. I'm going to pull up that report as I start with this common question, right? The common question is, how does working remotely versus working in office affect productivity and focus? How really does it affect productivity and focus? Does it actually even affect it? Now, this question is especially relevant if your team operates in a hybrid setup. But by looking at Time Doctor's reports together, we can uncover data-driven answers instead of relying on guesswork. Okay, so let's pull up. I just need to stop share so I can bring that report up again. Okay, here we go. All good. All right, so you should be seeing the office versus remote. Again, selected 3 groups. particular same week. And we're going to look at this report. Now, this report breaks down productivity and idle time by location. So you can see how many average daily hours tracked per user on the remote days, on the office days, or on the hybrid days, right? So it helps you see, are people more focused at home or in office? So you can see the productivity breakdown here as well, the productivity percentage breakdown based on that. So if you're looking at this example, based on what we're looking at now, you can kind of see that possibly your hybrid days and your office days are leading to, to the more productive side of things. You can also have a look at idle minutes, average idle minutes on those particular days. So it's just ways that you can kind of compare some things. We also give you a breakdown of, use any users that may have had unusual activity during those times. So that is something that you can look at with this report. But how does it compare with all the other with the other reports? And I'm gonna have to jump through to another report. I'm sorry why this is not really showing me what I needed to show. But we'll bring up the web and app usage report next. Quite simple. You all know about the web and app usage report. And if you look at the web and app usage report, if you combine it, you can spot which tools and websites are being used in each environment. Okay, so for example, your remote team might obviously use things like Slack or collaboration tools more when they're remote, right? But while they're in office, they might use project dashboards more often. Okay, they might just want to use those project dashboards more often. Okay, so this is where you can come and have a look and just see, according to Slack, how many hours are being used. You analyze it according to the day that it was you were active on, and you can break that down. Like I said, you look at a specific day. So how you can do this is, if you want to focus on a specific day, you might start to find that individuals might have more deep work on a specific day, while office days lean towards more collaboration. Okay, so looking at a specific day, maybe it's an out of office day, which is what I'm assuming, because you can see there's a lot of YouTube that's being watched, right? Maybe it's a home day. So now you need to start to understand what makes your comparison fair and meaningful. Okay, so if, for example, your team has fixed office days, so let's say a Tuesday and a Thursday, you would rather want to compare those days together rather than just mixing up random days, because then obviously your data is not going to be, as comparative as it should be, and that makes sure that you're looking at consistent patterns instead of noise. Now, again, once you've compared that data, you can ask, where is your team most productive? And just as important, why? So maybe some remote workers are more productive because they have fewer interruptions, right? Which makes sense. Or perhaps office days maybe boost productivity because some people like it better when they work with other people, right? Understanding these whys gives you the insight to shape better workplace policies. Okay, so you can dive between the two reports and start to figure out where exactly is my team more productive, right? So now that you've understood that, you got to start then looking at what you can do to take action. Okay, and before Laura jumps in with hers, just in terms of taking action, now you have the insight. Now you need to try and bring it together. So the first thing that I would advise you is maybe refine your remote work guidelines. For instance, set clearer focus hours. So you could say, hey, every day or on remote days between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m., it's deep work time, right? And in the afternoon, you leave for meetings. So you know that you're going to get focused work in those times. Then you can also make sure that everyone has the right tools, whether at home or in office. So the right collaboration tools, whatever it is that they need to get their job done. And then the third point is offer targeted training to help remote employees improve their efficiency. The biggest thing with this is remembering that the goal isn't to pick a winner between remote and office work, right? And we know there's this whole return to office mandate, and there's a lot of people saying, where is it more productive? But what I'm trying to say to you is, by using Time Doctor to analyze your reports, you can now start to optimize both environments so your team can perform at their best wherever they are, right? So that's it for office versus remote. Over to you, Laura.
All right, thank you, Kyle. So I'm going to be sharing my screen now. I hope everyone is seeing that already. Okay, so Calvin and I have discussed this topic many times with our clients, and they come to us and they say, Laura, like I see a lot of my employees appear very busy, but I'm not seeing really an output from them, right? So what is the issue? What is happening? And one thing that we like to point them out to is to take a look at how meetings are happening. And I'm going to show you how to combine two reports to see if meetings can be the reason for this lower output. So the first report that I'm going to show you today is called Meeting Insights. This is again a report available as an add-on or in the premium plan, and it was launched in October this year. So it's really fresh out of the oven. So what we're going to show you here in Meeting Insights is basically how much time and how much meetings your team is spending their time on, right? So I have already selected a group of people and I've placed myself under the month of October. And I see that for October, 374 hours were spent in meetings, average meeting duration 12 minutes, etc. So here we can take a look at what are the groups that are having most time spent on meetings, the ones that are, I just selected one, so we're only seeing one here. And we're also seeing what are the application and websites that your team are using while they're on calls. And also we're going to be separating idle time here for meetings, right? Idle time on meetings versus idle time outside meetings. So how can you combine this report? So in this case, we see that Meeting Insights can be easily compared to or can be worked in collaboration with the project and task report. So if I spot a team that has a lot of time spent on meetings, I can go into the projects and tasks report and I see clearly here Google Calendar, a task, right? A project called Google Calendar. So I can drill down the information. I can see exactly what are all the meetings that my teams are having. And in this case, if I see repetitive meetings or if I see a lot of one-on-ones, maybe this is one of the reasons, right, why you're not seeing a better output from our teams, and we can better structure async communication, perhaps, and also any type of establishing also clear agendas and of course reducing meeting loads if we need to meet a deadline specifically. So I encourage you to use these two reports in combination. And yeah, I hope this helps you to monitor improvement. And over back to you, Cal.
Awesome, Laura. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, the next one is also a very popular report and also a scenario that we kind of find a lot of our customers talking about. And I'm going to explore how you can investigate unusual behavior, right? Objectively using Time Doctor's reporting tools. And I'm going to bring up the unusual activity report in a second. But this scenario is all about taking a data-driven approach. When you receive notifications or you kind of get a feeling or you hear from some managers or anything about potentially irregular activity. Now, we've all seen it, right? You get this message from someone saying, hey, let's have a look a little bit closer at this particular person. You know, we're all working remotely now, and, you know, sometimes there may be some irregular activity like unusual keyboard or mouse patterns. But before jumping to conclusions, it's important to validate what's actually happening. The goal here, as contrary to popular belief, isn't to catch someone doing something wrong, right? It's to make sure that the data reflects reality and to handle the situation fairly and confidently. Okay, so first step, we'll cross-reference 3 different reports, but the first one we'll start with is the unusual activity report. Okay, so let's bring that up over here, right? Okay, so quite simple. Again, selected a specific group, and you can see that there is obviously some unusual activity report over here, unusual activity happening. Now, what we just basically need to do is bring understand who exactly you want to look at, right? So this report flags irregular keyboard and mouse activity. Okay, things like sudden drops in or out are kind of unexpected, or you might see maybe sometimes people think, oh, it's got to be lots of stuff, but sometimes it might be something like, you know, at the same time every 30 seconds or every 3 minutes or whatever it is, a keyboard is pressed, right? So unexpected idle spikes. Okay, it's your first clue that something might need a closer look. So when you are looking at the unusual activity report, right, you can look into a specific user and you'll see that there'll be types of unusual activity. Okay, so this is obviously the first report, and in this report, we'll link to the second report, and then we'll bring in the third report. Okay, so then you go in and let's choose one, and let's look at unusually high keystrokes as an example, right? For Grace, unusually high keystrokes. So it sometimes takes some time to pull up the data, but what we want to look for is the timestamps, which will show you exactly where you need to be looking. And you also have the ability to look at the screencast, which will be like a visual confirmation by viewing the exact time. Okay, so you'll see here, you've got the Tuesday, the 14th of October, and we can just pick maybe 8 a.m. to 8:30, and you'll see the keystrokes there. You know, it shows unusually high keystrokes, and it gives you a little bit more information about that. Then the other report that you can combine with it is right next to it, which would be the screencast. So obviously you'd be able to go into the screencast and view the activity for that period, right? This, like I said, gives you a visual confirmation. You know, by viewing the exact date and time of the flagged activity, you can add the real context. Okay, so what was actually happening on the screen at that moment. And sometimes this step can often reveal what looks like unusual activity, right? Could be something perfectly normal. Okay, as an example, I have a customer who has, you know, had a couple of users that kept on popping up on the unusual activity report, and they were wondering why. You know, this is not normal for their type of personality and those kind of things. And after deeper investigation, going through the unusual activity report, going through everything, they found out that all that was happening was those users were looking at a very long document. I think it was like a 150-page document. And so obviously they weren't typing anything, but they were just using their mouth to scroll through the pages, right? So obviously, if you keep doing that for a long period of time, it comes across as irregular activity. But if they hadn't looked through all the reports, right? So the other one would be the web and app usage report, going back to the web and app usage report, and we can then maybe look at it by day and go to October the 14th, because that was the day that we looked at. Go to that particular user, which I believe was Grace. Okay, and we look at Grace, and we can see for Grace, there's an auto clicker that has been applied, right? So in this case, you can then come and investigate and say, hey, this is what we've picked up, right? Because the web and app usage report helps you see what tools or website were active during those flag periods. So you can clearly see that there was an auto clicker that was active during that period. So you can start to derive your investigations a little bit closer. If you didn't see anything like that, and maybe like in my customer's case, they saw a Word document and they saw PDF and all of these things, and upon going in a little bit deeper, they were able to find out exactly what was going on. But as you can see, by combining all three reports, you can then start to draw your insights. So you've cross-checked, you've looked for consistency, you looked at the web and app usage, does it align with the flag time in the unusual activity report? Do the screencasts show legitimate work activity or not? And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you'll find that what seemed like unusual behavior was actually part of a legitimate workflow, right? So that's why it's important to use the multiple data sources, the multiple reports, because it can turn your assumptions into verified insights. And in terms of taking action, what you can do is, if you confirm that the activity is truly irregular, we always give advice to our customers on how they should proceed. Obviously, everyone here will have their own internal procedures, but we normally just suggest things like maybe following up privately with the individual and, you know, approach it as a conversation and just try to derive where where it's coming from, right? And then obviously clarify your expectations around work activity and types of tool usage. And then finally, we always suggest maybe you can go in and from this very same report, you can see create notification. So you can go in and you can create an email notification for ongoing unusual patterns so that you can monitor these trends without micromanaging. So you'll get the alert as soon as any sort of unusual activities is flagged. And this kind of balanced approach will build trust whilst ensuring accountability with your teams. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope everyone is still there. We have not overwhelmed you, but I do have one more thing to show you guys today. And this, what I'm about to show you, comes from the need of our clients to understand if AI adoption is happening within their teams, and also have visibility what could be improved, and what processes can AI even replace and replicate right across the entire organization, as well as considering how other companies and other users with similar roles are also utilizing, in this case, AI tools. So the first report that we're gonna see now is called Benchmarks AI. Again, this is one of the newest reports that we have.
Laura,
available
sorry,
as an
Laura, to
add-on.
interrupt you.
Yeah,
We're not
sure.
seeing the benchmarks report, actually. We're seeing your other tab.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're showing us all your Slack messages, Laura.
There we go. All right. Thanks, Kyle.
There we go. We got you.
All right. Thank you. A little blipper there. Okay. So I was saying, like, Benchmarks AI is one of the reports that we launched in October, available to you as an add-on and also in premium plan. And I wanted to focus on this chart right here on the right. And we're going to be comparing, in this case, I've selected a group, and I'm considering usage from September to November. And I'll be seeing here how this group compares against all of the other users and Time Doctor, right? So in this case, we have two lines. The bottom 25 reflects the bottom 25% companies that utilize, in this case, AI tools. I assume like nobody wants to be about below 25% in this day and age, right? But in this case, we do want our teams to be performing at least within this range, and if they're performing on the top 25%, that is great news. So in here, we see the trends, right? This team has steadily been using, there's a little decrease here in October 6th or 12th, but it's been a steady flow of usage of AI tools in this case. And if I want to understand what AI tools my teams are using, we can cross-check this report with the web and app usage. So again, in this case, I selected the same group and more or less the same period, right, October, and I see that ChatGPT is the second most used website for this team. So in this case, I can click on ChatGPT and I can see who in my team is mostly utilizing it, which means great for our company at least. And we can see what they're working like, what they're what they're working on, what they're looking for here in ChatGPT. Perhaps your company has decided what are the best AI tools to use and what are the recommended tools that you use. So in case you spot anything that might not be productive or might not be as reliable as other tools, you can easily correct your teams into using the right appropriate tools. Also, we can combine this insight with the project and tasks to see what are the tasks that your team most spend their times on, to see if there's anything here that can be utilized with AI in order to shorten the amount of time completion towards this project, or if there's anything here that can be automized with AI. And you can easily see here what are the tasks that your team has mostly been spending times on. But yeah, so the aim here, guys, is to analyze the top performers teams. AI usage helps you to identify, right, the best practices and replicate them across the entire organization. And also with these insights, you can coach your teams on effective AI workflows and encourage adoption of productivity tools. So I think this is everything that I wanted to share. So right back to you, Cal. There.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. Yeah, guys, I know those are all the scenarios that we've had for you today. But before we go, obviously we want to get to some of your questions. But I wanted to just make sure and just cover again that there are a couple of the reports that we've mentioned today that maybe you're looking and you might not see, for example, Benchmarks AI or Office versus Remote or Unusual Activity Report, or even the meeting insights that Laura was speaking about. So these 4 reports that we mentioned today, besides activity summary and all of these others, are available on our standard package, but these 4 reports are available only on our premium package, right? Or as add-ons, right? So that means if you are either in, a basic customer or a standard plan customer, and you go to your reports and you don't see, you will see them, but if you click on them and it doesn't give you any information, that most likely means that you don't have the premium plan. So you would need to either have that as an add-on or obviously as a premium. So on the screen right now, we have put up a poll, which is asking you a couple of questions. If you are interested in maybe having a 14-day trial of the premium reports, then you can let us know. If you're already on the premium plan, that's wonderful. But if you'd like to find out more or just see what it looks like and how it can add to your workflow, then please let us know. We're just gonna let it run for a couple of seconds and then we'll end the poll shortly. But yeah, Laura, it's been great, obviously, running with you, and we have some questions that we will take. So maybe we can dive to that. I'm actually gonna stop sharing now, so we can jump to oh, actually we can keep that on the screen and we can jump to the questions, Laura.
Yeah.
If you want to go first.
Let me see. Okay, I think I have the first one for Katie, from Katie. What is considered unproductive? Dynamic per person, department. So for Time Doctor, unproductive time is any time spent on what you guys classify as unproductive websites and applications. So whenever you sign into Time Doctor, you inherit, let's say, some websites that have been already pre-classified as unproductive for work, for instance, Prime Video, Netflix, Spotify. We shouldn't be actively using those websites. So, but if there's anything new that you need to classify as unproductive, this is something that each of you need to do on your account. But that is what unproductive means. I guess this also can be tied into idle time, right? So idle time is any time that a person is not interacting actively with their computer. And I got the same answer, the same question before. So imagine now, right? I'm doing something productive, which is running a webinar, but I'm not interacting with my computer, right? I'm not typing anything and I'm not moving my mouse. So every 60 seconds that goes by and I'm not interacting with my computer, that will be counted towards idle time, right? So for Time Doctor, productivity is a twofold. It means time spent actively working on the computer and also on productive websites. Because it wouldn't make sense, right, for me to be logging in 8 hours a day, but not interacting with my computer, number one, or be watching Netflix for 6 hours on my day. So that is what has to be considered. And I also encourage you, Katie, to try out the benchmarking report to understand how your team stacks up against everybody else when it comes to productive or unproductive websites, and also activity level, meaning idle, the opposite of idle time. I hope this answers to your question. And Kyle, would you like to take the next one?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going through, and I think basically how you answered the question, I think you also covered G's questions as well. She was talking about, they were talking about idle time, adding in, talking about if sticky notes is open and you're busy with everything else. So idle time won't be counted on the sticky notes because you're actively working on other screens. So I think we've answered that. So I will take I think there's another question here that speaks about how do you label certain sites as client communication. Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about productivity ratings. So in terms of that, you can't necessarily label a specific site in your productivity ratings because productivity ratings is based on websites and applications that your employees go to or your users access. So all you'll be able to do is rate them productive, unproductive, or neutral. Okay, if you don't rate it, it will remain unrated. So that's, you can't really label those. If you're talking about if you're using the interactive version and you're talking about creating a project and a task for client communication, then you can definitely do that under the projects and tasks section. But in terms of labeling a site as client communication, you won't be able to do that because that's it's actually based on access that your users go to, right? Laura, you can take the next one.
Let me see. There was something here on unusual activity. Where is that comment? 1 second. Okay, so Edis Hidalgo asks for the unusual activity report. Can you include a website that they're not supposed to use? That is actually done on the productivity ratings tab. Unusual activity is something different. Unusual activity, you can equate this to anything that can try to mimic human behavior. Some software installed in the person's computer to pretend they're working, to pretend that someone is typing when there's actually nobody in front of their computer. The website that people should not be accessing should be classified as unproductive, but Time Doctor is not going to prevent anybody from accessing websites, right? We don't do that. I hope this helps answer your question. So this was a lot. Okay, done.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take Nick, and Nick has asked 3 questions, but I think it can be answered with in one kind of answer. So Nick, you've mentioned that I think you've sent a screenshot. We won't be able to really see that screenshot now, but what I would suggest, Nick, and it also ties into your last one where you asked if you can have someone review your account with you. That can definitely happen, and we can obviously look at all the things that you've asked. So what I can suggest is if your company does have a customer success manager, please reach out to them. If you do not have a customer success manager, you can reach out to our support team. It's just support@timedoctor.com, and they will then obviously help you with it or link you to someone who will be able to help you. But please reach out to us, and we can definitely have a look, review, make sure you're getting the most value and getting the right insights from that, and then answer all of your questions that you might have live. Thanks, Nick.
All right, I think there's a couple of the questions. Leslie asks, will it track unusual activity if the user is set to track video instead of screencast? Again, Leslie, these are 2 separate things. Unusual activity is, again, anything that tries to mimic human behavior, like a mouse clicker, mouse jiggler, something stuck on someone's keyboard to pretend like there's someone typing. And then screenshots or video screen recording is a different setting that is established under the user level, and it will take the screenshot or the video recording of when this activity happened. So they're not the same. They work together. They work in combination for a better analysis in the context of someone's performance.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. I'm going to answer, I think it's Mayank. You spoke about how sometimes you have graphic art employees who type very fast, and Time Doctor picks this up as unusual activity. So like I mentioned, Mayank, I'm not sure if you maybe weren't on the call yet, but we spoke about how you can analyze, using the different reports, using the screencasts, and obviously if you know, the algorithm is going to pick up activity that's deemed unusual. But like we said, if you look at the job type, the specific user, what they're doing by looking at the screencast, looking at the web and app usage, you'll obviously come to a conclusion that this is a normal workflow. And, that, is not unusual activity in terms of, they're trying to cheat the system, right? It's just unusual in terms of the way that they're doing it, because it's sometimes, a person who's not in that role wouldn't necessarily be able to have that type of activity. So you can look at it as that, and obviously just make sure that that's, usually an anomaly case, depending on obviously the industry that you're in. Laura, you can take the next one, and then I see Carmen has a question in the chat that I'll pull up for her in a second. So
all right. Hi, Ismail. Nice to see you here. I'm gonna take your question as a product feedback. But yeah, this is not something that we can respond right now, like we couldn't answer right now. But for everybody in the room here, Ismail was asking if it was possible to add a graph section like the one in the UAR, but in the timeline report. Not just to be able to see the unusual time there, but also to the work time. So this is a good piece of feedback. So I'm gonna take this to our product team.
Thanks, Laura. But I'm gonna answer Carmen's question that she put in the chat. She's asking, she wants to know the route to get to setting websites as productive or unproductive. So I'm just gonna share my screen real quick. So Carmen, obviously from your dashboard, if you go to settings and you click on the productivity ratings, okay, so you'll see a bunch of it does take long to load at times. It will always default to unrated, okay. And obviously, depending on how many websites you have that are unrated, it will take some time to load. But once it loads, this is the place that you can go to set it as oh, there it is, right? So you'll come to this page, and oh, it was there and then it disappeared. There we go, right? So for example, you'll come to this unrated page and you'll see a bunch of websites that have not been rated. So you can just click unproductive, whatever it is. If it is a website that has already been previously rated, you can go to all, and obviously you'll be able to search for the website here, right? It will pull up the website, and then you can make your adjustments as necessary. Remember, you also have the ability to set ratings according to groups, so specific groups. So if you say, hey, it's only YouTube or Facebook or whatever, Twitter is only productive for the marketing team, for example, you can set productive for the marketing team only. It's still unproductive for everybody else. Or you can have individual exceptions. So you can select specific users where certain websites are productive or unproductive. So just go to settings, productivity ratings, and you'll find everything there.
Hal, since you're there already, sorry. Oh, yeah. Can you show everyone here how they can view their plan from the settings billings page?
Yes. Yeah. So if you're at settings, you go to billing. So I know there were some questions asking if to know what plan you're on. Okay. So you'll just go to, so this page is only available usually to the owner of the account, but the owner can grant access to certain people to view that. But at settings, billing, it will tell you what plan you're on, right? Premium monthly, premium annual, standard, whatever. And obviously it tells you what your plan includes. It will tell you how many users are you being billed for at that time, what the price is, and if you have any discounts or anything, it will show there. In some of our newer accounts, you might not necessarily see this section, but once you click on the pay button, it will then calculate what your discount is and what the total amount is. But this is where you will go, and you'll also be able to see any invoices, past invoices that you've paid will also be on that screen. And if it looks like this, you can go to the invoices screen here and you'll see everything on that screen. Awesome. All right. I think we have some time to take a couple more questions, Laura. I think we've got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the top one, I think it's Hasina Relina, has questions on the break. It's a little bit difficult for us to go into that now. So again, I would advise you, if you reach out to our support team, or if you have a customer success manager, please reach out to your CSM, and they can provide you with the answer, because it would mean we'll probably need to look into your account and go into some detail with you there, so we can establish what is happening. And then obviously for Paul, Laura, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that question. No, I haven't really looked at it.
Yeah. Hi, Paul. Good to see you here too. So yeah, I'm gonna speak to our product team, to AG specifically, and we're gonna have him review this because this has been also brought up by Ismail in another call that I had with him. So we're gonna take a look at that, and I'll let you know once that is done. But yeah, thank you for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, I think that covers it. Thank you so much, everybody, for your questions. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate you taking the time to stick around with us to the end. For those of you who maybe still need some answers to your questions, you can reach out to our support team. As a reminder, if you answered the poll, someone will be in contact with you about the trial. Other than that, if you have a customer success manager, please reach out to them. And if it's one of us, please reach out to us. We will obviously love to help you. Thank you for those of I know I saw some of my customers online today, and you definitely did as well, Laura. So thank you all for joining. Laura, anything you want to add before we go?
No, this was a great session. I hope this was also helpful to everybody here. And we're looking forward to see how you combine the different reports to get the most out of your teams. And I hope they, continue growing. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Paul.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tom.
And as a reminder, one last thing, we will be sending you the recording. So if you missed anything or you came a bit late, you will get the recording. And also, yeah, like Laura was saying, thank you to our not facilitators, our moderators that were in the chat, that was answering questions as well. We thank you. Good evening to everybody. Have the rest of a great day. And Laura, thank you for hosting with me.
Yeah, of course. Pleasure. Bye, everybody.
You guys. Bye-bye.